Chairman.
Okay. Call the meeting to order, and let's stand for the pledge. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let's just jump right into this, sir. Okay. Can I have a motion to adopt the minutes from February 21st?
Motion to adopt.
March 21st.
Motion to adopt.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, motion passed. Thank you. I'd like to, since we're short a member tonight, I'd like to bring Johnny Kahn on as, to fill in for Isabel. Do I need a motion for that?
No, sir. At your purview.
Okay, thank you. Johnny, you're on board tonight, okay?
Great, thanks.
All right, we have a couple of things in front of us tonight. The first one is application ZB 23005, tax map parcel 6155-00866535. This is the Fishkill storage at 550 Westage Business Center Drive. Zoning District PSC, it's 4 acres. The board shall consider area variances for Fishkill storage who seek the following avenue of relief. For the construction of a 4-story, 71,254 square foot climate-controlled self-storage facility known as Westage Self-Storage. A rear yard setback at 10 feet 2 inches, where 100 feet is the minimum setback in the planned shopping centers district. Said variance will result in an 89-foot, 8-inch rear yard setback. Said request is in violation of Town Official Town Code Section 150-48, Schedule of Regulations for Non-Residential Districts, 150 Attachment 2.2. And for the installation of 2 wall-mounted signs for this 4-story building. Area variance of 23.62 square feet, where 65.25 square feet is the maximum allowed in this zoning district. Said variance will result in 2 wall-mounted signs. The proposed CubeSmart sign shall be 56.94 square feet, and the proposed self-storage sign will be 31.93 square feet for a total of 88.87 square feet. Said requests are in violation of Fishkill Town Code 150-43, G2A signs within districts RB, PB, PSC, GB, and PI districts. Okay. Now, we did get a notice, a letter from the county that I'd like to read also. Okay. This is in reference to the Westage self-storage area variance for 550 Westage Business Center Drive. The Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the subject referral within the framework of General Municipal Law, Article 12B, 239-I/M. The applicant is seeking area variance for a rear yard setback and signage as part of the development of a 4-story, 71,524 square foot facility as follows: to allow a rear yard setback of 89 feet 8 inches where 100 feet is required, and to allow a total sign area of 88.9 square feet where 65.25 square feet is the maximum allowed. Their comments: we reviewed the previous variance request in which we determined that the rear yard setback was a matter of local concern, but recommended that the board not grant the requested variances for the number of wall signs, originally 3, and the total sign area of originally 120.8 square feet. Since then, one of the wall signs has been removed, and we continue to find the requested rear yard setback a matter of local concern. We are pleased to see the 3rd wall sign has been removed, resulting in fewer variances requested and a reduction in the amount of variance requested for total sign area. However, the applicant has not made a compelling case as to why relief from code to allow additional sign area is needed. The Cube Smart sign provides a necessary business identification to customers navigating to the site from the access roadway. The south-facing self-storage sign is only seasonally visible and only to westbound travelers on I-84 who cannot access the site from their direction of travel. The business appears to be adequately identified via the Cube Smart sign on the easterly facade. For the reasons above, we recommend the board not grant the requested variance for total sign area. Voting and reporting requirements, the board acts contrary to our recommendation. The law requires that it do so by a majority plus one of the full membership, so it's got to be a supermajority, and that to notify them of the reasons for the decision. So, you may have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening. Karen Lobruto, Labella Associates, here representing the applicant, Fishkill Storage. So, thank you for explaining what we all know to be the case here. We were here last month, and we were seeking variances for the total number of signs and also for the sign area, as well as the rear yard. We spoke at length, and about the site's development, about all of the alternative changes that we went through with the planning board to avoid wetlands, avoid the stream course buffer, to reduce the rear yard. And we felt that we came to a good place with everyone, and the decision was to remove one of the signs. And so we did. That was on the north facade, and we retained the sign on the south facade and also on the east facade. But in order to make the Cube Smart sign, which is above essentially the front door, which is not where it normally would be given the configuration of the site due to all the constraints, to make that Cube Smart sign stand out in the way that it should, and as the Cube Smart vendor wants it to, we do need the increased area. And so we are still seeking a variance of 23.62 square feet, which brings us over the permitted, which is 65.25 square feet. So we also, received the letter from the county, and again, I think we generally feel that they are not considering everything that has been in play here and the balance that has been accomplished by way of the reconfiguration of the site and all of the work that the applicant has put into the development to meet the concerns and constraints in front of them.
Well, does anybody have any comments? Johnny? You got any comments?
No.
Yeah?
Well, again, and I voiced my thoughts at the last meeting, and the current agenda packet that was supplied to us is even more information that I can appreciate your consideration for resources, in particular these signs that you're dimming them at night, the size of the building in relation to the size of the sign. I wish I had a vote.
Okay, Doug?
Where is the setback? Because we're talking a lot about the signage. Just which side of the building is this setback? We're talking
84
84.
through 84.
Right.
It's the one between that building and 84, right?
Yes.
Okay. What's the concern about that?
I don't have a concern with
There
that,
isn't.
personally.
I don't think that there was.
They do.
Well, they say that's local concern.
Okay,
That's
gotcha.
all that's-
Okay, and we've gotten rid of the one other sign, and there's really no room to make it any smaller, correct?
It kind of defeats the purpose of having the
Purpose, okay.
sign, especially
Like
for
we've-
Cube Smart themselves.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Tim?
I appreciate all the work you did with the planning board and reconfiguring your building. The setback to me, I don't think it's a big deal. I also have to say I appreciate all the work you did on reworking your signage, okay? I understand the what's it, the south-facing one that everybody was so against. Well, I understand it now, okay? It's not so much to direct people there, it's to let them know this is where CubeSmart is, okay? I get it, and I don't have a problem.
Yeah, I'm going to just echo on down the line, and the fact that, like, I know you guys also had to go with CubeSmart, and kind of, they originally wanted the 3 signs, and I know that was a big thing, and you managed to talk them down to the 2. We're really at a considerably smaller ask than we started out with, and I appreciate all of that. And I mean, like we keep mentioning, one of the signs is going to be pretty much, you know, unseen by foliage for most of the year. So, yeah, I'm kind of okay.
Well, I have a concern, the size of the sign, and I appreciate the fact that you got rid of, you know, that you dropped one of the signs, but I still don't understand why you can't have CubeSmart and self-storage on the same sign, and even make it smaller.
Excuse me, Ron, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you use the microphone next time? They can't
Oh,
hear you.
I'm sorry.
So I'm joining here, I'm Neil Alexander, a partner at Cuddy and Fader on the law firm representing the applicant. I think candidly, the county grabbed the wrong part of the letter and misapprehended a really important part here, which is that we're allowed by code 2 signs. We're allowed a certain amount of square footage. And so they're harping on that sign from visible from 84, right? That sign happens no matter what, right? We don't need your approval for that. I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean just as a statement of fact, right? We don't need your approval to do a sign that's 31 square feet, which is half of the total square footage we're allowed pursuant to the interpretation to put that sign there. But they're making a big deal of that. What they're saying is they want us, they don't have a problem with the size of our CubeSmart sign. They're saying use all of your 65 square feet on the CubeSmart sign. They don't have a problem saying, they didn't say, for example, it's too big for the facade it's on. It's garish. They didn't say, they have no issue with that sign. What they're trying to do, candidly, is they're trying to basically have us use all of our allocated square feet on that sign, and not do the sign in the back. And that's where I think their letter really misapprehended what was going on here and what's allowed by code.
So you're saying they made this determination twice?
Well, so what I'm saying is the real ask here, if you look at it, in my opinion, is I'm allowed 2 signs, 65 square feet. If I put 32 and a half at the back, which is essentially what we're asking for, right? I think it's 31.93.
On the money.
And if you put the remainder of the 65 and a quarter on the CubeSmart, which is about half the size, where it's 56, right? Really what we're asking for is the delta between that 56 and 31 square feet. And who sees that? It's only someone who comes down the laneway. And why is that the case, by the way? If you really think about it, our building was tilted by the planning board away from everything. And that's because there was a decision made, and we went along with that decision, to preserve the wetland and watercourse resource. Now, we were allowed to ask for a regulated use permit to go into the setback for the wetland and the watercourse at grade. But we didn't anticipate that we'd have pushback once we did that from the county. Or it sounds like most of you aren't pushing back, so I don't want to make it seem that way. But that's how I want to, that's why I think the county's grabbed onto the wrong part of this. They could put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. They're really caught up on that sign on 84. And what I would argue, and the reason for you to adopt this by a supermajority, is that we're enlarging the CubeSmart sign to create a presence for a national. And let's not forget the experience previously with CubeSmart, right, where there was a facility that was supposed to get built and didn't get built and sat for a long time because it wasn't just right. So their presence, and they want that sign there over their front door. And candidly, had we traded in the air here and said, no, we won't push our building away from the water resource because the county's going to fight us on our signage because we won't have the right signage. Well, our building would be farther in a different position, and it would be more readily available to us and to the brand. And then who sees this sign? The only people who are going to see that sign are people who are coming to this facility and transient people who are staying at the Spring Hill Suites, whose sign you can see from 84 itself. So what I would say to you is, you know the test. Before you even get to the 5 parts of the test, what's the first thing you're supposed to do? You're supposed to balance the benefit to the applicant, which is huge. This is how we're getting our national tenant, against the detriment to the public at large. How is the public at large really being harmed here? It's a slightly bigger CubeSmart sign that's going to be seen by people in the rear of the Spring Hill Suites. That's arguably not even a public way. So the larger sign, which is the CubeSmart sign, again, that's why I think the county misapprehended it, because I'm saying our rear sign, which they're upset about, that's happening no matter what, because it's the proper part of our allocation. So what the real variance is about is enlarging the CubeSmart sign. And it's a huge benefit to us. That's how we get CubeSmart. And it's the detriment to the public. The public can't even see it from a public way. You're talking about some guests at the Spring Hill Suite who are going to see it. So that's why I feel when you forget even getting to the 5 prongs, there's no detriment to the public at large. The public at large can't see it. So I would ask that you adopt it by a supermajority. I'd sort of beg and grovel. I'll get on my knees, because we tried to accommodate you all, and I think a lot of you have heard that. And really, the only reason why I gave you this extra speech was to help you frame what you need to say back to the county, and then hopefully you approve by a supermajority. So thank you.
Well, I disagree with your consensus there. It's the total square foot area, and I disagree with your approach to this. So it's pretty straightforward, you know. Was it 65 square feet? Is the maximum allowed. 65.25 square feet is the maximum allowed. Very straightforward. You can twist it any way you want, but that's the way it is, black and white, you know. Now, you're looking for 88.9 square feet. It's just substantially larger. So what's that, 40%? 35%?
Yeah, actually, case law and substantiality, you should really take a look at it. The coupon case, which your attorney can tell you all about, because I think his firm may have even been involved with it, but it was definitely in Rockland County. Substantiality is only relevant to the extent that there's an impact to the public at large. It's not a mathematical. In fact, the court in the Adelot case chastised Bedford for getting caught up in the math of saying something was 100%, 40%, because there was no impact to the public at large. So it's really important that you be aware of the Adelot case, be aware of the coupon, which was a 62-page recitation recently by the court on exactly this issue. Substantiality is only substantial to the extent that it has an impact to the public at large.
Yeah, you mentioned that last time.
And only to the extent that it isn't mitigated. There's nothing to mitigate here.
Yeah.
A handful of people who are going to see it from the parking lot at Spring Hill Suites. It's not even visible from the public at large. You take a look at the New York State DEC's visual analysis of impacts.
So if that's the case, why does it have to be 88 square feet?
So this is exactly what I'm saying. This is how we get the brand. This is the benefit to us, as opposed to the detriment to the public at large.
If I can say.
Yeah, please.
When you say the public at large, and you mentioned the hotel, like if you can clarify, so public at large, is that residences? Is it businesses? Is it all of the above? Is it the hotel visitors? So please clarify that.
When you look at the DEC's guidance on how do you assess a visual impact, right? If you go, the first thing you have to look, there actually has to be a resource.
Mm-hmm.
There is no identified resource in the vicinity, right? So we're like already well off the trunk and into a branch of the tree, hanging and swinging at that point, right? But it also has to be from a publicly visible way. So, right, one of the things DEC says is it's not you don't have a right to your view from your second story bedroom window, right? It has to be from a public way, and it has to affect a public resource that's been identified as having a certain value. either through the Greenway plan, through your local inventory, through SHPO, through the federal government, right? We don't have any of that here. And so I understand mathematically where we are, but again, that's why I said it goes back to the top of the balancing test that you know so well under 267B3, right? You have to balance it. Where's the effect? Where's the impact? I would argue there is none on the public at large. And I don't see how this, this is, look, every attorney is going to get up here in front of the ZBA and say it's unique, right? But this truly is readily distinguishable. You're going to be hard-pressed to find another one coming in front of you where they can say, as a result of a full planning process that led to a negative declaration and preliminary site plan approval, my building doesn't face the way it should face. And I allowed the planning board, in concert with them, to protect a resource that was important and identified, right, in your code. And in exchange for that, my expectation here was that I could get more signage. I already walked away from a third sign, which means the front of my building doesn't have a sign. My front entrance, I just need a little bit of a bigger sign.
So you have no intention of modifying this application?
How would we, Chairman, how would we modify it without actually no longer needing to be here?
I'm saying, do you really need self-storage?
Everybody knows that's my application, 71,000 square feet of self-storage is a permitted
If everybody
use.
knows what CubeSmart is, do you really need self-storage?
Yes, and Chairman, I would argue that's not what's going to give.
And
what I'm going to argue is what's going to give is the CubeSmart gets smaller, and then maybe I lose CubeSmart.
I get it.
And that'll be twice for town of Fishkill.
I get it. You have no intention at this point to modify this application. So you want to you want us to take a vote on this at this point and move forward.
Look, you are a
a
five-member board?
We need a supermajority.
We need 4 members.
We need supermajority to pass this
We
resolution.
need 4 members.
Right.
I'm sorry?
We need 4.
And I
4, yeah.
believe that I don't want to be adverse to you, Chairman, but I understand where your position is, but I think the rest of your board, I'm God willing, I'm hoping, is willing to vote in favor of the application. And I'm not trying to challenge your authority by doing that by any stretch.
I'm one vote, and everyone here on this panel.
I know, but I want to be
vote.
respectful.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Look, I think we gave a great rationale personally that has value to explaining to the county that the county is grabbing on the wrong thread in this quilt here because they're focusing on the rear sign. And the rear sign isn't the delta here as to an approved or denied application. What is the delta is whether the CubeSmart, which is the brand sign, is of sufficient size to keep them interested in doing a deal in town at a brand that walked away from another deal in town. So we have a track record that they will walk. So I think I'm begging that a supermajority of you please approve it, and I'll stop, but I wanted to sort of explain at least why I think the county is wrongheaded here, candidly, and has picked on the wrong part of the overall theme here, and I don't want to hammer it, and I think I probably have a little too much already, and I'm hopefully quitting while I'm ahead.
All right, thank you. All right, let's go through the 5 factors.
John, you actually need to close.
All right, so I have to close the public hearing?
Yeah, you need a motion to close, please.
Motion to close public hearing?
Motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all right. So, let's go through the 5 factors for this application. Whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by granting, well, there's 2 variances here that we're looking at. Let's go through the area variance first.
Well, they're both area variances, you mean the setback specifically?
Setbacks specifically,
Okay.
yeah. And do we have to go through the 5 factors with the setbacks if nobody has issues with it?
Well, you should quickly. I guess I could help you go through it quickly if I could help expedite
Why
it.
don't you do that?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Right, so just focusing only on the setback variance, the county has not objected to that, so you don't need a supermajority. It's a balancing test. And does anybody here think that there would be an undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties created by that particular variance?
No.
Does anybody think that the benefit sought by the applicant could be achieved by some other method in regard to, the location of the property in that regard?
No.
I don't think so.
I think they worked really hard with the planning board.
Absolutely,
to do that.
100%.
Okay. Does anyone think that that setback variance is substantial?
Not really, no.
Does anyone believe that that setback variance would itself cause an adverse effect or impact on the environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district?
I don't believe so.
And how does anybody feel about whether that was self-created?
Of course it was.
I think what they all are.
Yes.
Anything here is self-created.
Yeah, okay, so it seems to me that there's, we don't necessarily have to take a vote on that at the moment, but that's how the board feels
Seems
on
like a
that.
general consensus.
That doesn't seem to be an issue
Right.
in regard to certainly not an issue with the county, it doesn't seem to be an issue generally. The issue, obviously, there seems to be some disagreement among the board, potentially from what we all heard. The next issue is on the signage.
Sign.
So I can yield the floor back to you, Mr. Chairman, or I can also help guide it through, or...
You read better than I do. I trip over my words sometimes.
Okay. So in regard to the, the signage, right, we all know what the variances, they're reduced from what they were before, but they're still asking for the square footage. They're no longer requesting the number of signs, it's the square footage. And it's a balancing test weighing the benefit to the applicant against any detriment to health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community, right? That's the balancing test, and these 5 factors guide that balancing test. First is whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties if the variance for the signs at this square footage is granted. I can either, throw it out there for discussion, or we can go to each member to have them kind of voice how they feel on it. It probably is more productive to do the latter at the moment, given where we are after the discussion during the hearing. I'm happy to do any way you'd like, Mr. Chairman. Would you like to go one by one and have each person kind of talk and speak about how they feel?
I would, let's hear from the rest of the board. I'm just trying to put my thoughts into words here.
Yeah.
So, Johnny?
Well, I understand it being, what's allotted and allocated there, but I don't feel it would be so detrimental, being that they dropped the third signage and, changed the facade of the outlook of the building. So again, it's really not impeding on anything, so I would go with it.
I'm not sure Ann can participate in this discussion.
No, she should not.
Right. Doug?
We're just talking about A, right?
A.
No, I have no issue with A.
Well, define neighborhood. Is it just the Westage, or is it, driving Route 9, 84? Is that, I know he mentioned earlier in one of his discussions about the site distance. My thing is the size of the sign. And I think it will be an undesirable change, personally, because of the size of the sign. I just wish it was one sign and not 2. But that's just my opinion. Tim?
I don't really think it's going to be an undesirable change to the neighborhood. Basically, these guys worked hard, they turned their building. There's a little bit of give and take here, and I think we can afford to give a little bit on this one.
I'll echo Tim, and as for, being a detriment to the character of the neighborhood, this was a public hearing, and we didn't have anybody from the public or the hotels or anything show up to say anything different, so
Okay.
I'm okay with A.
All right, so
So the next factor is whether the benefit sought can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than through this variance. We can do the same thing, just, go down the line and see if, does anybody feel like, when it's your turn, do you feel like there's an alternative, feasible alternative to achieve the same benefit?
I don't think so at this point, that they've made, they've reconstructed their plan, the signage, just the whole outlook and layout of the facade of the building. So I think they did what they can do. And again, it's not impeding where it's affecting people on 84, that sign got dropped. It's really coming in front of, driving up to the facilities where you're going to notice the sign. So in my opinion, I would say, again, you're going there, so you're going to see a sign. How many people are going to be there at night as well? Again, it's going to be lit up at night, and that's where it's really bright. You'll see majority of the signage. But during the day, I don't feel it's, going to take any precedence on it. Yeah, I don't feel it's going to be in the way.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, I think they've given enough, they've bent enough, and they've worked with us, and they've worked with the planning board enough. And I don't see a problem with that, and I believe, I asked last time if this was something that CubeSmart really wanted, and I think the answer was yes. I'm pretty sure. Otherwise, they walk away. That's the problem for the applicant. That's kind of not fair.
Are either of you, you feel like there's some feasible alternative that would achieve the same benefit, other than with a variance?
No, I think it's a variance.
Well, I think I made my comment pretty clear. I think it can be one sign. I think it can be one sign and under maybe a smaller variance. That's, again, my opinion. One sign with a smaller variance. Tim?
No, like I said before, I think mostly there's been a lot of work done on this. The area that it's in, I mean, yeah, could it be achieved by another method? Yeah, if you shrank the sign down. But I don't think that's really the answer that you guys want to hear. I think you need the sign, so I don't have a problem.
I'm going to, as usual, ditto Tim.
Okay.
All right, anybody, in regard to substantiality, how do you all feel about whether the variance is substantial?
Johnny?
I feel this variance is acceptable due to the nature of the remodeling of the third sign and taking away. Again, it's, it is the law, it is what's governed by it, but, again, with the work that was put into it, I feel it's okay.
Doug?
I think it's substantial, but I also stand by what I said, and just reiterate what I said in my last statement.
It's substantial.
I also think it's substantial, but based on the area, the other signage around, it's not really that substantial.
Yes, again, it is, but with all the reconfiguring that has gone on the site and the fact that it is a tricky site to begin with for any type of commercial property, I don't think it's, in the end, when you take out all of that into consideration, it's not that substantial.
All right, how about whether there's any adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions?
No, I don't feel there would be any. It's just, mounted up against the building, so it's not encumbering any unused land or wildlife, so I don't feel it's going to have any adverse conditions or an effect.
I'll keep it short, no.
Okay.
I'll agree with these guys on this one.
No.
No.
Okay, and in regard to whether it's self-created?
Johnny?
Yes.
Doug?
That's such a tricky.
Yes.
Yep. Tim?
Yes, of course it's self-created, but it doesn't fall into play here.
Kath?
It's self-created.
Okay.
Okay, so you've now considered the 5 factors. All of you have voiced your opinions on the 5 factors. You've got this balancing test that you've got to apply, and now it's time to, somebody could entertain, we can entertain a motion, well, let me first address the county, right? County planning, obviously you're going to need a supermajority, 4 people would have to agree, and you'd have to state the reasons why, right? To the county. Basically, it has to be for a reason, and you have to let the county know if you're going to override. So, you could entertain a motion, based upon what I've heard, it seems like you could either entertain a motion to deny, or you could entertain a motion to grant and to override the county.
Seems like a general consensus to override the county. So I would say that would probably be the motion.
Yeah, it seems that way, and then the question...
I'm not going to make that motion.
Right, so you clearly wouldn't be making the motion,
No.
but, under circumstances like this, do we have any, you've given a fair consensus that I think we've all heard in the record. Does anybody have any concerns or have any questions for me on the, on the legal end of overriding the county, and anything on that, any concerns about that?
I guess the question I would have is how would you, I've never overrode the county before, so I wouldn't even know how to, respond to that, to be honest with you.
I'm sure that David could probably help you write that letter and...
Yeah, I mean...
The fact.
Do I have to sign it?
Even
though I don't agree?
The procedure that I'm envisioning is one that we, that we've followed in the past, and it's, you could take a vote tonight, and then you could direct me to prepare a resolution that embodies it, and, it's, not to get ahead of ourselves, but it's it's an odd circumstances that we find ourselves in, right? Most of you, from what I'm hearing, are, in favor, but the chairman who would be signing the resolution would be,
Right.
seems to be against it, which is speaking out loud about what we're all hearing, right? So the issue, there's 2 ways to handle that. One is, I can, you can direct me after you take a vote to prepare a resolution, and it would be consistent with whatever happened here tonight, and it would state the reasons for an override. And either you could authorize in that vote the chairman to sign the resolution if he finds it in order, and if he doesn't find it in order, then it's not signed and it comes back on the agenda for the next meeting, and we can discuss what about it isn't consistent with what we did here tonight until we can get a consensus and vote on the resolution itself. So,
Can we,
As the vice chair, can I sign it?
could Tim sign it as vice chair?
if I'm being honest, I've never had the situation before in my life. So I've not looked that up.
Feel better.
I think that as the chairman, it would be his responsibility to sign, because he's not signing saying, I'm voting for this. He's signing saying, this is the resolution that was passed.
Passed by the board.
And unless in your absence...
Hold my nose and sign it, all right?
So we could do that, and the resolution would reflect the vote of each person, right? And there's no question as to who's voting for and who's voting against the resolution. And if there's any question, if the chairman finds it to be something that he doesn't want to sign, it just comes back up on the next agenda. As long as that's within 62 days of tonight, we're fine, and we can address it at the next meeting.
Okay, I'll leave it up to you to write the resolution.
Yeah, and typically, we deal with this an awful lot in Rockland County. The county planning department in Rockland County is, they haven't met a recent application that they liked. Let's put it that way. So there's a lot of overrides. And what we see very often, the reason for the override, sometimes the county, they'll make a judgment in their letter about the merits of an application, but they never state in their letter, such as here, what the grounds or basis for that was. So we don't know, they haven't stated that they've considered the balancing test or the benefit to the applicant. They haven't considered the 5 factors on that balancing test, at least on its face. And so sometimes that's, that can serve as a basis to override. We're here, we're familiar with the municipality, and we've applied the 5 factors in earnest. And that's probably something along those lines, if that's the way the vote goes, that I would put into the resolution.
I think that's the way the vote's going to go, but...
If that sounds like, it is a basis along the lines that I just articulate, does that sound like everybody would be in agreement
We can
with
take a
that?
vote. We can take a vote
Okay.
to pass a resolution.
Okay,
Do
so
I have
yeah.
Do I have a motion?
Real quick, I just want to add one last thing on that. In any motion to grant variances, if there's any conditions, none are jumping out to me other than, the standard set of conditions, compliance with the plans and the approved plans and, payment of fees, the standard conditions that we've imposed. Is there anything that anybody sees here that they'd want to specifically impose as a condition in the motion, other than those standards? No. Okay. So then I think you're ready for a motion to approve and to override the county.
All right, do I have a motion? Do I have a motion to approve the request?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I decline?
So you're a nay,
I nay.
right? And do we have
We got
ayes?
four
Okay.
ayes and one nay.
Okay,
So,
okay. So the,
congratulations, folks, you got your...
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for working with us.
Yes, thank you so much.
now, if you would, just make a motion to direct me to prepare a resolution consistent and to authorize the chairman to sign if he finds it consistent with the proceedings here tonight.
Motion.
Motion
That
to
motion
whatever
is
you
made.
said. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, the second thing on the agenda,
Yep.
That was only one thing.
all right, application ZB 23003, tax parcel 6156012505565, zoning district R20, and actually, there's a couple of things here, and tax map parcel 6156011665551, and 6156012275563. Let's see, this is 5.54 acres west of the Route 52 and Old Glenham Road intersection. And there's a couple of things. Let me just read the whole thing here. The board shall consider the town board's appeal of the determination of the town building inspector concerning Town Code Chapter 150 zoning, Section 150-95, approval required that DKH's, the property owners, construction of a retaining wall did not need to conform to the building specs, terms and conditions of the amended site development plan approval adopted by the planning board because the retaining wall's failure to conform to the approved amended site development plan consisted of a field change. The lands affected by this application are shown generally on tax maps as Section 6156, Block 01, Lot 250565, located at 160 Old Glenham Road, consisting of 5.45 acres in the R20 zoning district. Section 6156, Block 01, lots 166551, located west of the Route 52 and Old Glenham Road intersection. Consisting of 2.48 acres on the general business zoning district. It's all here. Anyway. The new oh, that's something else.
That's the next one.
Sorry, that's
We
next.
have a letter from Mr. Gaba.
We have a letter from Mr. Gaba. Okay, dear Chairman Davis and board members, this office represents the town of Fishkill Town Board in the above reference appeal from the determination of the town building inspector that construction of retaining wall which deviated from the approved site plan consisted of a field change. At the town planning board meeting on September 14th, the planning board directed that a resolution be prepared to grant site approval of the retaining wall as built. But the planning board will not consider or take actions on said resolution until next month. In light of this development, the town board respectfully requests that the public hearing of its appeal to the zoning board be adjourned until next the ZBA's next meeting in November. If the planning board approves the retaining wall at issue as built at its next meeting, then the town board may agree to withdraw its appeal. However, the town board needs time to discuss this issue and decide how to proceed. I'd like to go into executive session so we can discuss this further.
Yeah, if you request, you want to get some legal advice on this?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so you can go into an attorney-client session for the purpose of seeking and receiving legal
Yes.
advice.
Do I make a motion to that, for to go into attorney-client session, so we can get some direction on this? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Don't do anything until I...
Yes.
So we'd like to make a motion to come out of attorney-client session.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, and we would also like to make a motion to grant, what is it, to push this off till the November meeting. to
Right, it would be
adjourn-
a motion to adjourn, continue the public hearing
Continue the public hearing to
at the November...
Motion to continue in November.
21st.
Public hearing,
21st.
yes.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That puts that one to bed. All right. Thank you, David, for that.
Okay, you got it, anytime.
Thank you, David.
All right, now the third thing. The third item on the agenda is ZB 23004. The applicant is Gunks Holding. Tax map parcel 625-604, 594-281, address 1552 Route 52, general business district, 0.35 acres. The applicant is requesting the following area variances for the construction of a double-sided monument sign. An area variance of 1 foot 6 inches where 6 feet tall is the maximum allowed in the GB zoning district. An area variance of 28.6 square feet, 14.3 square per side, where 40 square feet, 20 feet per side is the maximum allowed in the GB zoning district. Said variances will result in a 7 foot, 6 inch tall, 68.6 square foot double-sided, 34.3 square foot per side monument sign. Said requests are in violation of Fishkill Town Code S 150-43, signs G parentheses 2, B, permanent signs within other districts. The board will consider accepting and referring the application and scheduling a public hearing for a future zoning board of appeals meeting. The next zoning board of appeals meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, October 17th, with a submission by the deadline of Tuesday, September 26th by 2:30 p.m. Okay, sir?
Good evening. I'm Tom Kivett with Gunks Holdings. So I was last back here in June, where we had proposed a 9-foot-high sign with 54 square feet per side. It was deemed too large, so we were asked to go and revise the size of the sign. We have done that, and that's what you have described.
Which is the same size as the firehouse sign right next door.
Correct.
Yes, thank you. Okay, my only concern is the placement of the sign. I think I did mention that last time.
Right.
Okay, it's pretty close to the road.
It's 15 feet back, so we're setback, we meet the variance, or, yeah, I guess we meet the setback requirements for the monuments.
Well, my concern is, there's a firehouse right next door.
Right.
Those trucks pulling out, I don't want it to be restricting the line of sight, and that's my concern.
Right.
It's legitimate, but it's something I would like you to review.
Okay, if you want to, I mean, I could visual, believe we had this conversation before, some way to visualize the site distance for people traveling, I believe westbound on Route 52. That would be the most impact for that sign blocking the firehouse. We did take a preliminary look at it.
No, I mean the trucks coming out of the firehouse,
Right.
looking, oh yeah, westbound, yeah, right.
Right, so it's,
Yeah.
it's minimal, but I could visualize that on a site plan if needed.
But could you move it back?
We could take a look at that as well. We're getting, looking at the site plan, we're getting back further into the property, so.
Yeah, I don't
depending
think
on
it's,
the
I
site
think it's
distances.
feasible, to be honest with you,
Yeah, my only concern is, because I was looking there, when you're making a left into the gas station going westbound,
Yeah.
the cars going east are going around it. So now your sign also impedes, there's like a roadway, like a half-circle horseshoe. What about the cars that are coming out of your lot with blocking the visual for the,
Right.
If I'm going around, you see it, they go around each other when somebody's making a left or a right,
Right.
It's a bit of a haphazard, actually, now, so if you make a left on Westview, and you make a left at your gas station, if there's two cars coming the same way, well, who's got the right of way? Now I got the sign that's got a car coming out, and a car going around because that guy's turning left, so.
Right.
I do agree with Ron, I think the size of the sign is, acceptable, just the placement of it,
Okay.
just to gain a little more exposure would be, better, safer, per se.
Right.
Again, there's no traffic light there, I don't know what's going on in that facet, but it's, when you try to make a left onto Westview or into Ocean State, and you try to make a left into your gas station, and there's somebody going around,
Right.
and now I have this sign, I don't know who's coming out of it. That's,
So we could visualize, again, we could
Right,
visualize
yeah.
that traffic movements and whether or
Right,
not it's
just to-
being
yeah.
impeding the
But
vision.
I think the sign is okay as far as size-wise. I just, again, Rob, like you said, it's the placement of the sign. Maybe moving it back or over, I don't,
Ron, what are you looking for, like 5 feet or something like that?
Does
well,
the
there's a bush
monument
behind it.
that it sits on, that is included in the 7.5 feet, correct?
The,
And
The
stone
stonework,
base,
I don't-
correct.
That's
The
correct,
other
okay.
thing is, I tried putting the firehouse map, grid map next to this, and the truck's coming out, And it's,
Where's the firehouse sign in relation to that?
the firehouse sign is over here, but it's closer to the building, yeah. But, it's just, it's just for your consideration,
no, understood,
So-
yeah.
Even if you could goose it back a little bit, just to free everybody up.
Because it looks like there's a
Right.
bush behind it. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, that's
Take that bush out of there.
our proposed landscaping, yeah, so I mean, the bush will get moved back, if anything,
Yeah,
along with the
yeah,
sign.
so,
The diagonal down, just to think about it.
but I think at this point, it's just a request to go into a public hearing. And so we'll accept the application. Do I have a motion to accept the application?
Motion to accept the application.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll see you next time, okay?
All right, excellent.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks for the work on this.
Hold on.
Did you make a motion about a public hearing?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
You didn't accept it before, I didn't hear the public hearing one.
okay, do I have a motion to have a public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it for the public hearing.
Public hearing for the next meeting, October meeting?
October.
All in favor?
Aye.
See you in
Have a good
October.
evening.
Thank you. All right. I think we're done tonight.
Thing.
Close it up. Close it
Do
up
I have
officially.
do I have a motion to adjourn? Anything else, anybody want to talk about? No? Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
I second it.
All right, second by Doug. That wasn't too bad.